Here we are. All right, everybody. Excuse me. Welcome. It's Ray here, the gray-haired guy in a gi, and we're back with Tales from the Mats. Unfortunately, I haven't been doing many episodes because I've just been so busy doing other things. So, what a great way to kick it off. The great Sarah Wilson is here. And for some weird reason, I keep getting mixed up between that you live in Cape Breton and Newfoundland. I have no idea why. But it's great to finally meet you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I've also heard Cape Breton referred to as Newfie Light, so we do have many similarities.
Ah, oh, that's wonderful. Well, listen, thanks for taking the time to be on my little podcast episode YouTube thing I do.
Thanks for
And
having me.
my goal is just to interview different instructors, different people in the martial arts, obviously Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and just kind of find out a little bit about their journey and all that other stuff and everything. And obviously, you're very busy, you're quite active. And so let's start right now. What are you doing as far as like where you teach and where you train at? We'll start with the plugs first, I guess.
Definitely, yeah. I train out of Sprawler Brawl MMA in Glace Bay. So that's where I like currently train and teach and all that. I am under my coach still. I just got my black belt a couple weeks ago from my coach
Wow.
Sterling Redlack. So he's from BC, and that's where I did most of my training. But I am under Sprawler Brawl now here in Cape Breton.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So I guess we'll start from real quick from the very beginning. Your first like that first spark. Like did you get it, were you always involved in sports, martial arts or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or other arts? Like what's your first where'd you start? What's the beginning?
I have always been a traveler, so that was kind of the start of it as when I kind of started like making my own in the world as an adult. I moved out pretty young and I wanted to travel a lot. So when I started trying to base my life around that, I thought that as a woman traveling alone, I would need to be somewhat competent in like self-defense. So I had tried a few. I lived in Toronto at the time, so they had a wide variety of offerings. And as
Okay.
somebody who didn't know anything, like this was before UFC was popularized, because we're talking like 10, 15 years ago now. So I had tried a few different things, like, the Krav Magas, the stuff like that. Didn't really find anything that hit. Um, and then I was just really big into skateboarding at the time. So
Oh, interesting.
I had a girlfriend come up to me one time and just say like, "Oh my God, your legs are so huge, like your muscles are so huge, like you have to come to Muay Thai with me, you'll love it." And so I went to Muay Thai with her. And I did love it. I trained for a while there. Sorry, I didn't train for a while there. I probably did like just a few intense months, but then I moved to BC for school, and
Wow.
I moved into way northern BC where there was virtually like nothing. Like there wasn't even like the workout gym was pretty faulty. So didn't really do much for the next year, then moved to Penticton, like the Okanagan in BC. So that's where I kind of got back in, got into the women's kickboxing program. And then I think a lot of women have the same story where like, you finish kickboxing class and then like the jiu-jitsu class starts and you're just kind of watching.
Okay.
The first I had tried it one time at the first gym I trained at in Toronto, but that class was just like very intimidating. It was all men, obviously, but like the warm up was like I had to do like run laps with a grown man on my back and stuff. And this is when I was just
Wow.
starting to get in shape and stuff. And I was just like, oh, this is not for me. So then when I circled back and tried it the second time, I kind of got hooked and then, yeah, and then just kind of fell in love with it. And as soon as I started competing, that's when I really kind of, drank the Kool-Aid and went right in.
Okay. Wow. Fantastic. Do you remember your first tournament?
Oh, absolutely. I think that out of every tournament, that my first one is probably the most memorable ever
Yeah.
because
So usually
of
it's for
how
us.
the nerves like that it was just crazy. Like I was nauseous for like weeks leading up to it,
Yep.
just like sick to my stomach, like just that could not believe it. And then I did like fantastic. I don't think I ever did as good as I did in that first tournament again. Um, I think I got four golds, no, three golds and one silver or something like that. I can't remember, but I did very, very well in the first tournament. And then my big takeaway was like, I have to do this more so that I don't feel as nervous as I did.
Mhm.
And the coach I had at the time said that like, you'll see competitors who are good because they are skillful, and you'll see competitors who are good because they compete a lot, and sometimes like the latter can beat the former. That just kind of inspired me because I started competing just a few months into training. So that kind of inspired me to stay like regular with my competition. And then outside of COVID, I think I've competed like at least once every 2, 3 months since I started jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah. So you competed when you were out west way. You were busy
Yes.
doing that. What brought you back to Cape Breton? Are you from here originally?
I'm not, I was born in Ontario, but both my grandparents were from Cape Breton and like moved to Ontario. So we had spent
Okay.
a lot of time here, just summers and stuff like that. Um, just always visiting. We usually spent like 3 weeks in August every summer. And then my parents had bought a little cottage out here,
Oh, nice.
like a very tiny, tiny cottage, for like $20,000. And it was like this big deal. So we could all finally have our own place and not have to stay on people's couch. But then COVID hit. And at that time, me and Jesse my partner were kind of looking for a change, just like something different. I was getting burnt out at my job. We just wanted a change. So my mom she actually asked us, she's like, would you house sit for me during COVID? Because we can't make it down there. We're just worried about the place. And I actually said no. And then
Okay.
Jesse called my mom to wish her a happy Mother's Day a couple of days later, and she ran it past him. And he just said, "Yep." And I was like, "Okay." And it was supposed to be for a year, and then yeah, we just kind of put roots in right away. Like, he was able to start a business in like his specific trade is like needed out here, so he was able to start a successful business right off the hop.
Oh,
I was
that's
able to find a
wonderful.
job that I loved. We were able to find a house that we could afford. And then we found a gym that we just fit right into. And Fight League Atlantic, um, they were like anywhere I'm always just like in tune with all competition leagues everywhere. Like I stay very like active and current, just making sure I know what's going on, make sure I know what opportunities are out there. So I was aware of FLA pretty soon after moving out here. And then so when and we got opportunities with them pretty quickly too. We were
Yep.
on like the like yeah, even before there was a women's kumite, I was competing with them. And that was actually like also kind of a strong, like the community out here is good, and different, like BC community is also good, but I feel like the FLA offers a really cool and unique like pathway to pro grappling, I think. And so that was kind of a another big thing I loved about this area.
Right. Yeah, we have a good history of, MMA organizations, with Extreme Cage Combat, Fight League Atlantic, Nova
Yeah.
Kickboxing, and they kind of combine now, so they're called Atlantic Combat Sports. They
Yeah.
haven't done anything recently, but they may in the future. But obviously, Fight League
Yeah,
Atlantic,
tons of opportunities.
they're just so fantastic,
Yeah.
and the tournaments they put on and stuff. So now I don't want to get too far ahead yet, but so you originally started, you were doing just the average Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. You weren't getting involved with like MMA and all that stuff yet.
No, I had a desire to do MMA pretty early on. I always kind of like would dabble back and forth. Like I never really strayed away from jiu-jitsu, but I would kind of dabble back and forth in between striking and stuff. Um, I like Toshido MMA is a pretty well-known MMA school in Canada, so that was where I lived, so I trained there for a bit. But yeah, never just like quite got the momentum to like I actually was trying to line up a fight right before I moved out here with BFL,
Oh
but
yes.
Battlefield Fight League, whatever. I just know it's BFL. I don't even know what it stands for, but I had been kind of building some stuff up for that fight, but then that one fell through and COVID happened and all that business.
Yeah.
Um, and then even out here, we had talked about it for a bit, and then I had that first fight, and then again I wanted this. So I don't know. Sometimes it just seems like it takes a bit to get it like because everything has to come at the right time. You have to have your fight camp, you have to have an opponent, you have to have an organization.
Yeah.
And I think for women, it's a bit harder to get to line all those things up. Like,
Well, it's hard for those things to line up currently, even though
yeah,
it doesn't matter, men's or women's division. I used to run a school for years and I had a lot of fighters compete. And the
yeah,
problems we ran into was just crazy, whether it was with the
yeah,
boxing commission or fighter, they're getting their medicals or fights falling through. So
totally, yeah,
credit to you for going through all that.
yeah,
I used to dread like when students would be like, "Yeah, I want to fight, and I have an opponent," and then we're like, "Oh my God, we have to go through all this." but
Yeah.
it's so much work, but credit to you for that. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, Derek Clark, Fight League Atlantic, they're so professional and they're just amazing at what they're doing right now. So, do you uh, was it Submission Series Atlantic that you were on first before the MMA events? I can't remember.
No, like submission series. I'm not sure what submission series
Okay,
it's
so yeah, because they used to hold like just grappling events like on stages
Oh,
stuff.
oh yeah, no, I
So,
have seen videos of them, but that was before I moved out here.
oh, I see.
Um,
Okay. All
I
right.
think it was like November 2020 that I moved out here.
Right.
So the
Okay.
first one, like it was the second Kumite ever, and I had a super fight with
Yep.
Charlene, the co-main event.
Oh, yes.
So that was the first FLA that I was a part of.
Right. Yeah. So that's awesome. Now, what about training for your first MMA event? How was that?
A lot different than training for my second one. You
Okay.
you learn you learn things pretty quickly.
Yep.
It kind of just lined up like that like the we have we're lucky to have like a lot of senior guys who are good coaches, but it just happened to line up for my camp that a few of them were all out of town working and I had just kind of started at that gym.
Ah,
Um, and so a lot of my camp was kind of self-led, which
yeah.
you can only like teach yourself so much. So I definitely put the effort in. Um, but I'm all about game plans. And so my game plan the second time was a lot better. And you can really only learn that from doing it like the first time. Like looking back, I can see what I did wrong for the first camp, but
Yeah.
there was nothing at the time I did wrong. I was giving it my all. I trained my best.
Now,
I
the
did
first
everything
one, you're
I could.
going in for the experience to learn, to get to brush the nerves off a little bit,
Totally. And like
and
I got
whatever,
one
right? And then after that, you're kind of working on a goal and
and just
realize what you got to
experiencing it
do.
once. Like once you've experienced it, then you can kind of start breaking it down. Like my even my coach, like Wayne at the time told me he like that like just like he's like the nerves are gonna like I think he called it the bright lights. Like the bright lights really affect your cardio. It's gonna be hard. And I was just kind of like, I've competed on some pretty big stages. Like I'm good, like
Yeah.
and actually we were in right before our fight, we were in California and we trained with Boss Rutan and he said right before
Ah,
we
training
left
him
and
too. Good for you. Let's
yeah, he
talk
was
about
like
that. I'll keep that on my notes.
right before we left because he was super cool and we got to chatting
Yeah.
after class and stuff. But he told me he's like, in amateur fights, 9 times out of 10, the better cardio will win the fight. So
Yeah.
I was like, cool. So like I have great cardio. I just train the harder on my cardio, and then like and given all of that, I still just like could not believe just what it felt like. I just felt so for somebody who has competed like as much and as often as I have, I just felt so like not overwhelmed in a bad way, but just like I was just so overwhelmed by the whole experience and it just wasn't
Right.
what I expected. Like I just didn't like the my jiu-jitsu experiences weren't really they so in some ways you could, translate the experiences, but in some ways it was just like even though I had been in that exact same cage under those exact same lights with like, it just was not the same.
Yeah. No, I always told the guys it's the 60% rule. 60% of your cardio goes
Yeah.
pretty much immediately just from nerves and all that other stuff. And so, well, that's fantastic. So, okay. So before I lose track of this, you were training with Boss Fruit, and I was down in California training with him as well, and a bunch of other people at the time. But how was that? What made you decide to go to California and train?
That trip, I'm like I spend tons of time in the States, just like I call them traincations or competing or
Yep.
I think that one was when I was fighting for subs on the shore for the plus $145,000 bracket that I won. I might as well just quickly add that part
Of
in.
course, absolutely.
That was my first time beating black belts in tournaments. That was a big move. But I think that was the same tournament. I've trained with a lot of like big names, just not like that they would know who I am, but you
No, of
just if
course.
you're traveling anyways, right? Why not
Yep.
just go rub shoulders with some cool people? So we went to his
It's important.
we
It's
we didn't
fun.
even know like we knew him obviously. We didn't know where he trained and we were just doing our usual thing of like looking where we were, seeing what's around us kind of thing, and then just being like, wait, what? And the bus route's
Yeah.
like right around the corner. So
Yeah, I think he
um
was in might have been the Thousand Oaks, California school.
yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah, and he was super nice. The whole gym was super nice to us. And so then yeah, like he just I can't remember how the conversation started, but he just started talking to us after class and we told where we were from, what we're up to and stuff. And yeah,
Yeah.
he just seemed super interested, really engaged. Took a picture with us after. He was
Yeah.
really, really cool.
It sounds just like my experience. So
Yeah,
giving of his time, there to
yeah,
just chat with me for like 20, 25 minutes at like during class and after class.
yeah,
And it was just, yeah, it was awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice. It means a lot when you like because like I said I've got to meet a lot of cool people and sometimes people are just normal and sometimes just like another guy right off the top of my head like Kurt Osiander. I went and trained at his gym and that wasn't I was like a white belt. I was a girl. I was alone. Like I was a lot more just kind of like what the fuck kind of like not really knowing what I'm doing and he went and just walked over to me and he's like, "Hey, do you want to roll?" And then we roll and he like showed me some stuff and it's just like those little pieces like bits of kindness, you know? So
Yeah.
I always try and remember that even just if I'm like training with my friend, it doesn't really matter who, I just try to always remember that like sometimes like you're only having to give like a little bit on your end, just a little bit of grace, a little bit of kindness, but it can really go the long way for somebody else who's not feeling as comfortable.
Yeah, and it really goes to show because we've all meet people in martial arts. I mean, there's not as many around anymore, but martial art instructors with really big egos and they don't want to talk
Yeah.
but yeah, you meet like I when I was in California, I had a bunch of people, but I trained with Eddie Bravo as well. Very
Nice.
easy going, just
Yeah,
gives a
he's
pretty
really nice too.
just and so it goes to show like the masters, the high level
Yeah.
guys, the world renowned people, they don't have any egos. They just
Oh,
train,
totally.
So when you meet that average person that's teaching whatever style on the corner and they come at you with an attitude, you're like, oh man, you have so much to learn.
Oh, it's just a good reminder for me too. Like sometimes I'm not all like sometimes it can be my own anxiety, sometimes it can be my busy schedule, but sometimes it's like I know that I can it's never like I don't think that somebody's worth my time, but I just I'll be in my own head about something, you know? And so
Sure.
I just try to really like yeah, I would just love to give that same energy. Like when I met Eddie Bravo for the first time, I walked in, I was competing under Medusa for him, and I we had only chatted online. I walked in the gym, and he just looked over and just, "Oh, Sarah!" and came up and gave me a big hug, and I was just like, "What?" Like, and yeah, I want to be able to give that kind of energy to other people. You know, I just love that idea of just like just leaving people better than you found them.
Right, right. So, I mean, obviously, you train a bunch of different things. Do you have, like, obviously with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or do you still do some kickboxing?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we are like a I what I consider like a true MMA school, you know. We
Yeah.
do we do like striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, grappling, comm classes, all that stuff. So like right now all my events that I have coming up are jiu-jitsu. So
Okay.
I like so when I was just had my MMA fight, I was almost exclusively training striking and like MMA wrestling
Yeah.
because that's what needed brushing up more than my jiu-jitsu. So then my MMA camp ended, so now I'm training more jiu-jitsu than striking, but I'm still like doing both. I have a combat jiu-jitsu event in December. So that's kind of like a bit unique because most of our striking classes are obviously on the feet, and this is a striking that where you're only allowed striking
Yeah.
on the
So that I
ground.
think that's an
So
Eddie Bravo idea, is it not? Combat
yeah, so
Jiu-Jitsu.
this is his event that I'm on. Like it's like he's doing like a jiu-jitsu overdose event in Cancun, Mexico. So
Okay.
the Medusa is the female only bracket that he
Yeah.
does. So yeah, and that's like you can do the palm strikes to well anywhere, face or body, but only once one opponent is grounded. Um, so it works well. Like right now, my a couple of our guys who are training for fights have advanced amateur rules, so that kind of has a bit of overlap. But otherwise, the striking from the ground doesn't come up as much because it's you don't see it in jiu-jitsu or in a striking class,
Right. Yeah.
like the ground and
So
pound
you are
specific.
actually, I mean, I knew you were very active in different things, and I wasn't sure if it was just locally, but obviously you are doing a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah, I leave in 3 days to go to Texas. I'm gonna go fight in the main character jiu-jitsu. They're doing like a 135 bracket. There's like a bunch of girls who are on like the flow grappling ranked top 20 in the world list that are all in this bracket. So we're it's probably actually one of the most stacked brackets I've ever been in. So
Yeah.
that's this Saturday, and then the winner of the bracket fights the next day on the main card. Um, so yeah, that's this weekend, and then 4 weeks after that is Medusa, and then 2025 is TBD.
Wow, that's so amazing because we don't have that. I hope I don't word this correctly, but we have a lot of great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ladies in the province, obviously in Nova Scotia. I mean, all Atlantic Canada. But you seem to be extremely active, whether it's in BJJ, MMA, fighting. So I have to do some research. I think you're one of the most active people out there right now.
I try to stay active
Could be
and
wrong. It could be wrong,
since
but I don't think so.
yeah, I've definitely tried to stay active. And like I said, I've been competing quite actively since like I started, and
Yep,
I think I've kind of like learned there is like a bit of like tricks of the trade kind of stuff to make yourself more visible, more noticed. Like
sure.
that, like I was on Medusa under Eddie Bra like for Bravo's event last December, but I had been trying to get on his event since like 2021. Um, and it's just like some you have to learn how to use social media as a tool.
Oh, I
You
see.
have to be very aware of what's going on, and then you also have to also have some success on your record. And that's why I kind of mentioned earlier about FLA and it being a gateway for pro grappling is because of like the media they produce, the professionalism of all the like content that they produce,
Yep,
and the belts, everything. It really helps to lend some credibility to yourself if you have all these clips and everything that you can show as kind of like your resume. I always tell people like your social page and nowadays is going to be your resume to other organizations or promoters.
well
Um,
said.
so you have like, and it's just the truth of the matter, right? So you have to, and I always say like I don't know if this is, I can't say that it's a direct correlation, but like I said, I had tried a few times to get on to Eddie Bravo's show, and then right for this last one, I had been, blowing up the page, getting my friends to blow up the page, doing the usual thing. And I had just posted, FLA had just posted my highlight reel of me getting my belt put on from the last Kumite. So
Yep.
that was a top thing on my page after I had finished blowing up his page. And then the next day, Eddie Bravo messaged me. So I was just like, I don't know if those are related or not, but
Oh,
like
that's
it
so
def
good. That's
but
amazing.
it just helps, right? Like that's
Yeah.
all very um, high quality footage of stuff that you get. So it like from the person who's just looking a glance look, they're just seeing like, oh, high quality media, a cage. Like this is somebody who has experience, has been in front of a camera. Okay, like she knows what she's doing.
Yep.
We can get her on on our show. Because I've gotten experiences over people who I'm sure are better, more qualified, more experienced, more like
Yeah, but you're putting in the
accolades,
work. You're putting in the groundwork.
Exactly, and
Like
it's not fun, and like my partner will sometimes tease me for being on my phone, and I'm always just like, this is business to me. Like I don't enjoy this anymore than like like it's not fun, but um like just with the technology nowadays, that's just the game.
Yeah, we're trying to start we have kids classes and adult programs at the club I teach, but we're trying to start like a 14 to 7-year-old, like sort of an amateur MMA conditioning class just for
Yeah.
fun. And I asked the 13-year-old, like, how we get in touch with these kids? And he's like, well, don't use Facebook. That's for old people. He says, you got to get on TikTok. You got to get on Snapchat. You got to advertise on TikTok. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. I was just told by one of the because I also run a women's kickboxing program at my gym. And so there's some younger girls, and I think I'm not sure how old she is, but she's maybe 12. And she
Yeah.
let me know that like, yeah, Instagram, because I was like, oh, you don't follow me on like I followed you on Instagram, you haven't followed me back. And she's like, well, I'm not really on Instagram that much. It's more for older people. I'm on TikTok. And I was just like, oh, I thought we were kind of like the same age. Like we're the same
Yeah.
age group.
So sadly, I just joined it, and my wife's really good because she does a lot of digital marketing. So she's really good with TikTok. So she's trying to teach me how to use it. And I'm only using
Oh,
it to try to get,
fantastic.
yeah. Our 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 thing might have lagged a little bit. So if the talking seems off, don't worry about it. I think we're okay though.
Okay.
So with the different arts that you study, is there one in particular you really like? I mean, obviously you like them all, and they make you a well-rounded martial artist. That's the most important thing. But is there anything in particular you really enjoy?
I'm like just grappling. Like I'm definitely a grappler through and
Yeah.
through more than anything else. I've really been putting a ton of work into my wrestling. Justin McKenzie's our wrestling. He's one of our head coaches, but he specifically is also a wrestling coach, and
Okay.
we do wrestling every single week. So I credit him with making me a really good wrestler. I think and like now that I'm starting to get good at it, I've been trying to be a good wrestler since I was a white belt. So it's not like I all of a sudden decided to try to like pick it up. I've been trying diligently to be good at it for 9 years, and I think I'm actually starting to be good at it. So that's super exciting for me.
Right.
So wrestling's kind of like my new little, love, but yeah, definitely grappling though.
Well, we know wrestling's pretty much the most dominant art in the UFC, so you
Yeah,
need wrestling. So good for you for training it. And a lot of people find it difficult to do, and it's
very
good that you're
difficult.
doing it. So now, do you have a lot of women that train at your academy with you, or do you have a few? Like,
We're growing. Like when I was the only woman for a while, and
yeah.
then I had my sister training with me for a little bit, but then she just actually ruptured her Achilles tendon recently, so
Mhm.
she's on a bit of a rehab. But that was actually one of the reasons why I started the women's kickboxing program.
Right.
Was I know about the the kickboxing to jiu-jitsu conduit route for women. So
Sure.
I was just kind of trying to get more women in the sport. I think almost everybody who trains regularly will talk at length about how much it's changed their life. So I think one of my goals in this lifetime is to try to help bring more people to the sport, but especially women. Um, I think that there are potentially more barriers to getting on the mats than men face.
Yeah.
So I just think that sometimes it can just be as simple as just literally seeing another girl do it is enough to kind of take the first step. So we have a few girls training with us. We have the full women's kickboxing program, which is doing great, and
Yes.
slowly we're seeing the crossover happen.
And I
We're
think it will. I mean, women's kickboxing, even if it's just specifically ladies kickboxing, is a great for everybody. And they feel very, you feel very comfortable doing it. And then some will be like, "Yeah, what's this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff?
exactly,
Give it a
yeah.
try," right?
Yeah, and we have and then like we had like Jen Jennings is another really good female competitor from Nova Scotia. So she switched over to our gym. And then and like I just like it's hard when you like so I was the only girl for a while, so it's hard to always use that as a selling point because I'm usually training for competitions. So like I'm probably like just as hard of a role as like
Sure.
you
You're
know
busy doing
I
your own thing.
like it's gonna I'm also doing like hard rounds and trading hard. But yeah, now we're actually starting to get like a crew of girls. So like there's some classes like the last judo class was uh like there was I think five girls and then two and then one guy and then the instructor who was a guy. Like so our women's base is definitely growing and it's super awesome to see. I've heard before that like you can tell the health of a gym, a jiu-jitsu gym through the number of women. And like
Hmm.
I'm not saying that that's true or not, but I
No,
just think
no, but
it's
that's a good thing to say.
and I just think it's an interesting like again, and I'm not saying that's true or not because you can have unhealthy gyms with lots of women, you can have healthy gyms with no women.
Sure.
Like I don't think that that's an absolute truth, but I think it is an interesting indicator of what is going on at the gym. And so I think our gym's been growing a lot over the last year. Like I think we've probably like quadrupled in size. So
Right.
seeing that the women grow along
And
with it,
not
I think
everybody competes, correct?
not everybody competes. Like we
Yeah.
do have a strong like our we are a competition school. Like we
Okay. Yeah.
like that is like we yeah, like we definitely train a lot harder than most gyms. Like
Sure.
that was one of the things that drew me to this school is that uh like you can just go there and expect hard rounds. You can fight very hard with people. There's a ton of people who are also very hungry, working towards goals, have competitions coming up. So that kind of like, iron sharpens iron kind of vibe in
Yeah.
there. Um, but then we've tried to like, craft the schedule so that it still has a place for everybody because that is a hard environment for beginners to step into. So we have like beginners programs and certain classes that are better for competition people, certain classes that are better for beginners. Um, but yeah, we put a lot of intention into like drawing numbers and not for profit, like specifically for to have more training partners. So
Right.
we try to like,
Hmm.
brainstorm ways just to like we're kind of just like a self-led gym. Like it's all of us, like it's just a not-for-profit gym with like community based.
Yeah.
So we get to like have a lot of minds involved in brainstorming what's the best way to change the schedule up, attract people, like we can anybody can pitch in an idea of what you want class to be about
That's
and stuff.
good. You always have to kind of fluctuate because some people just like a family-oriented gym. Some people like a complete fighters gym, and then you try
Oh,
to mix them
totally.
both together. Maybe have separate classes. It's always fine-tuning what you how you want
And
the
some
school to
gyms
be.
will just be more like hobbyist gyms, and some gyms will be more
Sure.
competition based. And if somebody was coming to my gym and, complaining that rounds are too hard or getting injured a lot, like, it might just be a conversation that this isn't the best gym for you, and not
That's
in a
right.
bad way, but it just like we just I think for the most part, everybody at our gym like likes to grind, and that's not like what even for me, that's not always what season of life I'm in, So
Right.
it's just about what your goals are. And I always encourage people that like just the first gym that you start training at, you don't owe loyalty to for the rest of your life. Like different gyms are going to have different goals, different groups of
Yeah.
people. I've had to make gym switches more than one time in my life. And it's always proved to be better, even though it was painful at the time to do, because you're not doing it because you're like mad at anybody, or like
No.
it's nothing like horrible, but you're just you have different goals, and you just got to find you want to find a gym. Same thing like if you're a hobbyist who just has a lot of outside things going on and you just want a fun way to stay in shape, like, well, then you don't want to come to a gym where every other round is somebody trying to rip your head off, like, so it's just like there's not one better than the other, and you just have to figure out what your goals are in the sport and then find a gym that aligns with them.
Exactly. As Henzo Gracie said once when people ask him, what do you do when people leave you? He's like, students go where they're meant to be. That's
Exactly.
it. They'll find. Now, is there other martial arts schools in your area? Because I know Glace Bay,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, there's several gyms in our area.
okay.
There's like Zombie Proof and Integrity,
Yeah.
and then our gym. We're like the three main ones in the city, I believe. And then we just got a couple of new ones popping up in Cape Breton Island. There's one in Shetty Camp now,
Yeah.
one
Oh,
near
yeah, for
St.
sure. I keep
Peter's.
track of all the clubs. I've known Ken
Yeah,
Peters since the day he started martial arts. So,
yeah,
he's a great guy. And obviously,
yeah.
Integrity and Shetty Camp now, they're really starting to get going, which is nice.
Yeah, I haven't I've seeing what they're posting and stuff like that. I would love to check out a class. A couple times that I've been in the area, haven't lined up with their schedule, but it's always fun getting to check out different
Yeah.
sports.
Well,
Sorry, different spots.
Samson's Martial Arts, they're in St. Peter's.
Yeah, and we've been lucky. They've came up a couple times now to train with us, so I
Good.
owe them a favor now. I get not a favor. I owe them the pleasure of dropping on their gym now. They have a bunch of great guys that they brought up to train with us.
Yeah. No, that's good. And obviously, I mean, some of the more traditional schools, there's not as many. But now you have Shane Williams up there, don't you?
I'm not sure who that is.
No? Okay. Do you have a judo program at your school?
We do have a judo program at our school, so um, I don't usually put the gi on for anything.
Yeah,
So
that's my other
I,
question I was going to ask you
so I
about.
haven't been there to the judo program yet. But yeah, he very well could be one of the judo guys.
Okay, all right. So what
Like
do
it
you
sounds
obviously
familiar, so now I feel bad that
No,
like
that's okay.
I
Don't
might
worry
have
about it.
actually
I
known
can
this.
That's all good. It's all good. I'm old school martial artist, so I remember some of these guys from the 80s and 90s. So most of them
I
are
know,
still
yeah, I know we
around.
have some of the OGs in the judo program. I always say I'm gonna now that I got my black belt, I keep joking, well, not joking, saying it seriously that like now I'm probably gonna end up coming to some of the judo classes because I just need an excuse to put the black belt on, Like
Ah, there you go.
you don't
So
train in.
obviously, the question people, obviously you're all focused on no-gi due to the your career and what you're doing and stuff, correct?
Definitely. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And now I won't keep you too much longer, but you have a women's program you're starting?
Yeah, well, the women's kickboxing program has been going for the last year. We
Okay.
started last fall, so we're going now. So we have like an awesome group of girls. I'm very, very lucky to be like just a part of that group. Um, I just always find it inspiring when people are willing to like break through like barriers that they have and push themselves. And it doesn't matter if that means that you're going from like a couch potato to the gym. That doesn't matter if you're like me, who's now, going to 3 sessions a day. Like when you're able to just break through those mental barriers, I just always find it so cool and inspiring. And I have like a class of women who do that like twice a week now. We go pretty hard in that class, and I always will tell them I'm like the only reason I call this a women's class is because guys aren't allowed. Like we train harder in this class than we do in the co-ed classes. Like I'm telling you, because I'm at both of them. Like we do a lot of hard cardio. We'll do sparring, light sparring and stuff like that. So,
Right.
and then we're just starting. I'm doing my first women's jiu-jitsu class December 8th,
Oh,
and
I
that's gonna
think
be
I think yeah, I saw that.
yeah, and so that's
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like start for now, just every couple months, just do something like sporadic, just to kind
Yeah.
of help bridge that gap between the kickboxing and the jiu-jitsu programs. And yeah, like I felt very like isolated as a woman when I started in my sport. There wasn't any other women, and the ones that I did run into made my experience so much worse. And so I just like want it to be different for the new women coming in, and I'm hoping to change that.
That's amazing. So do you work full time or are you just training all the time?
Yeah, I work many jobs. I work
Well,
more than full
okay.
time. Yeah, I have like I work two different jobs. So I'm a street nurse in person, like here at the in a at the like a community place in the city. And then I also have a second online job working with Athabasca University.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
so
You never
yeah,
stop.
I work a lot. I just finished school, which was um huge for me because I've been a nurse for a while, but I was upgrading my nursing like from LPN to RN. So I just finished
That's
that a couple
amazing.
months ago. So that was a huge thing to get off my plate.
So
So now,
needed as well. I mean, it's such,
yeah,
it's just you do so much for the community as a nurse. It's amazing.
yeah,
So,
busy.
how can people find you guys?
Sprawler Brawl MMA, we're on Instagram and Facebook. My
Yeah.
handle on Instagram is Swayback, SWAYBACKK. And yeah, like hopefully you won't have to find me and I'll find you. I try to put myself out there a
You're
lot.
out there all the time. And what do you
I
have
try to
coming
compete a
up?
lot. I have I'm this Saturday I'm gonna be on main character jiu-jitsu in Austin, Texas. Then when I come back, we have guillotine grappling, so I'm gonna be competing at that tournament. The invitational is the next day, so I'll be coaching some of our students there. And then Medusa is December 16th, no, December 13th in Cancun, Mexico. And then yeah, that's the combat jiu-jitsu one. And then yeah, we're gonna see what goes on next year. Maybe another MMA fight if I'm lucky.
Okay. You still want to do a few more?
Yeah, like I don't think I have like I'm at this point I'm just kind of taking it like however each fight goes. Like my very
Okay.
first fight, I got like a pretty bad concussion off that fight and I just wasn't really sure. Like I'm 36 now, so you just don't like
It's hard to find opponents too.
yeah, like and I just like that concussion kind of rattled me a bit. Like I just I like jiu-jitsu for the longevity of the sport and I don't have like I have MMA goals just for personal reasons to challenge myself, but I don't have like the same goals in that sport that I do in jiu-jitsu. I think I can still achieve a lot of success in the sport of jiu-jitsu as long as I don't get too much brain damage. So I was going to see how it went on my second fight, and then my second fight I took virtually no damage, and I don't even think I got hit once, and then finished the match and under like finished the ra like the round, the fight in the first round. So then I'm like, okay, like. Because when I went into that fight, I was like, if I get a lot of hit in the head a lot, that'll probably be my last fight. But I didn't get hit at all, so I'm like, okay, let's do another. Like,
Good for you. You are obviously one of the most active people that I've met as far as, doing a little bit of everything. And obviously, it's amazing that you got your black belt. And we have 94 black belts now in the province. And
it's
back in the
I
mid
you just updated
90s,
that list.
I just updated it. You
Saw
were on
that.
there, and then Kevin Tebow from Clinch Martial Arts, he just got his down in the States training. And in Halifax, in Nova Scotia area, back in the mid '90s, we didn't have any,
Oh,
and
I
so
know.
it's exploded, and it's just doing so great. I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the 100th black belt.
Yeah, that'll be cool, eh?
Yeah, it will be cool. So I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to add. I mean, obviously I could talk for hours, but
Oh, me too. I'm that's my biggest problem is just like always I always have something to say. No, I'm
yeah,
just
that's
happy to be
okay.
here, man. I always appreciate when people have me on to want to talk to me more. I'm always honored by anybody who makes time for me. So thank you for having me on and having
You're
a conversation
welcome.
with me.
But I have a couple fun questions for you now.
Absolutely.
Okay, so give me your top five martial arts people that you might look up to, or top three, or top two. And it can be anybody
Well,
in the world. Now, listen, it could be any martial artist. It could be someone that's passed away. It could be someone that, whoever.
yeah. Well, I have to give honor to George St. Pierre. I'll even like
Yeah.
right right here. This is like something my dad made for me with like a
Oh, look at
George
that.
St. Pierre quote. The quote is, "With discipline, belief, and the right knowledge, we become the best we can be." So something I really loved about GSP, because I think I like got into became a fan of his like right when I started training jiu-jitsu. It was like right around the same time. But who he was as a martial artist, I found more inspiring just like as like a person, just being a person, like the how he
Yep.
was so willing to challenge himself all the time. So he is somebody who I just will always have a lot of respect for. Other martial artists.
He was here in
I,
Truro once, by the way.
really?
He taught a seminar. If I remember correctly, it was just after he won the belt, or just before he was supposed to fight Matt Serra.
Oh
But,
wow.
but he had
I
a
used to
yeah,
I used to visit Montreal a lot when I lived in Toronto, and I would always literally be walking around the streets just like looking for him. Like I actually
yeah.
just got to train at TriStar earlier this year for the first time, and like met Frost and stuff. So that was a cool moment for me.
He was. I
Um
had him at my school here in Halifax when I ran my
oh
school.
really, eh? Yeah,
What an amazing person! But
he is a really good person too, so I
yeah.
appreciated him.
So
Somebody else I really
GSP.
sorry?
So GSP. Who
Yeah,
else?
GSP, Fionn Davies, I really have been admiring because I feel like she has really been like leading. I've been following her very closely, so I might know more of this than most people, but like she's been really like leading this new thing where like the athlete is the business thing and like prioritizing uh like just advocating for yourself, getting paid, like this isn't a free sport, like and so it's been cool and like you've been seeing like other people do that, but I think she's not only does she do it so well, but she really kind of like practice what she preaches. She gives out a lot of education to people following her. She has awesome platforms across like YouTube, TikTok, like Instagram. So she's somebody, and like then she's also a very successful athlete on top of that.
Right.
But
Makes
I just
money from it. Yeah.
100%, and she just and she's a good person, doesn't sacrifice her morals. So I just think like she's somebody who's very just like well-rounded in all areas. And then like who else? There's so many people.
That's okay. I know I just hit you with that question off the top of your head, but
So I'm just trying to think because of like trying to narrow it because like there's just a ton of
well, there's
people
so
that
many. Okay, here we
um
go. Here's another question. You into martial art movies at all?
um
Action movies, anything like that?
I a little bit like I don't always have the best memory recall, so sometimes I can't like say
That's
exactly
okay.
what I have watched and stuff,
Everyone
but
has different answers. Some people name all the Bruce Lee movies or, Big Trouble in Little China, but some people are like, nah, I don't even watch martial art movies.
the recent martial art movies that I actually got into were like the John Wick ones.
Ah, of course, awesome.
Those ones were pretty cool. I like, and I found that I thought he actually like did a good job of making jiu-jitsu look cool on the screen because sometimes you'll see people do jiu-jitsu in movies and you're just like, oh man, like I swear it's cooler than that. Like,
Yeah, he trained a number of different styles too. He trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He did a lot of Filipino martial arts, some
oh,
Taekwondo,
interesting.
whole works. Oh yeah, he had many different people. So it was also Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, but wasn't specifically just that. So, but it was great. But no, you can't go wrong with John Wick stuff. Do you read any type of books or any books you're following?
Yeah, I'm like more of a like I guess like personal development kind of book
Yeah,
person. Like I don't usually like read for like read a little bit. I'm just looking at my bookshelf. Like I read a little bit of like John Grisham mystery books, but other than that, I most of my books are like related more to like just personal development and fighter's mindset, stuff like that.
good for
Like
you.
yeah. Just I'm just looking at the bookshelf here
I
like
thought you were gonna pull one out there. That's
oh
okay, no
yeah, well this one
problem.
here like the fighter's mind, like I like that one a lot. Like
Yeah.
GS GSP's book, I like his book. Like all there's all kinds of books. Like I love to learn. I'll do a lot of like audiobooks too because
Okay.
I do a ton of hiking. I hike for like an hour or two every morning with my dog. So that's
Wow.
when I try to like habit stack and I'll try to like listen to my audiobooks at the same time so I'm like learning while I'm walking.
Good for you. You follow anybody online, like any instructional videos or people that you could recommend? Like some people follow Craig
I
Jones or they look up
I
Elon
always
Knight or
it's funny because after we trailed off the first question, I was thinking that Craig Jones would be my third person
oh
because
yeah,
he's
well he's
somebody
awesome.
yeah, again, I just and I like again I just admire how um he was able to like I feel like he personally is responsible for some of the growth of the sport, but he became really like successful, but it wasn't just through jiu-jitsu, it was through marketing, through personality,
Mm,
through having some morals. Like you know what I mean? I don't know. I just I
yeah,
like he believed in himself and pushed it. Anyway, so he's somebody else I
yeah.
thought.
So
Um the one book that I will always plug because I used to struggle a lot with mindset before tournaments and The Brave Athlete. That was the first book that I read that really kind of helped I think like put the first chink in the armor that I was trying to break down.
Yep.
And I actually just recently discovered it's just a podcast called Mindset Mentor on Spotify, and I've been really enjoying his. It's just like 20-minute breakdowns and tons of really well researched information in there.
Very good. That's awesome. So I was just going to ask you, so Craig Jones Invitational or ABCC?
Oh, definitely, definitely Craig Jones. I like I said, like I'm somebody who like loves humor, loves jokes, like just
Yeah,
likes to keep it light, like and so that's something I think that
the
he
best
does really
way.
well. Um and I went to his gym last year or no, yeah, last year and we trained there for a week and I get a little like self-conscious around some of the bigger athletes when I meet them because I don't want like I just I just never want to like be a bother or like make them take pictures and stuff and just try to like play it cool, and like whatever. And I remember he was like sitting in the gym the one day and like I like I was like, okay, like I can't just like not say hi. And I literally like march over the mats and like march up to him and he was like sitting against the wall. And I was like, "Hi, Craig. My name's Sarah. I'm here visiting from Canada. Thanks for having me at your gym." And I like stick out my hand, and he like shakes it, and like he goes to like open his mouth to respond, and I just spin on my heel and walk away. Like I'm just so awkward. I just walked away, and anyways, that's my Craig Jones story.
That's
But
awesome. And that's in the location he's in now that you see all the videos.
yeah, that was an like there. I trained at a lot of gyms in that like trip, like including like Danaher, all that
Yeah,
guys. But Craig Jones gym, like B team was cool because you had a lot of access to all the guys. Like at the 11 o'clock class specifically, the whole B team would be there, and like you could just walk up and ask them to roll and stuff like that.
that's great.
Um, yeah,
I
it was pretty
asked
cool.
because in one of his first videos when they first moved there and they were getting it ready, when you walk down the, I guess it's a hallway, I think you walk down to get
Yeah.
to the school, there was actually an Aikido club.
Oh,
And I don't know if it's still there. And every once in a while, I'm like, I wonder if that Aikido club is still there with no offense, like, 10 members when he's probably got however how many
no,
hundred.
I didn't notice it. I didn't see any Aikido place
That's
when I went in
okay. It was an
there.
older video. It was just, it's one of those things that
I would
people,
imagine that a gym of that size would probably wipe out most martial art gyms in the
yeah,
close
just, I was wondering
vicinity.
how Aikido's great too. I love martial arts, but I was wondering how they felt with all these, sweaty men and women grapplers next door to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, good for you. So you obviously you've trained with so many great people, and it's so good getting to train with people like that and seeing how, they're just how down to earth they are, and they want to give their knowledge, and I
Absolutely.
mean it's just wonderful. But it all helps you. It helps your martial arts resume. So maybe down the road someday when you're not as active, but you're teaching all the time, you know, it's just great. You're building your resume, which is so
Yeah.
so so good, and it's great for women in martial arts. Great for women in Atlantic provinces, and you follow the Women That Fight group, of course. Shout out to them because they're just amazing what they're doing, trying to promote women's programs.
That's
Whether
me who runs that page.
yeah, so it's that's you that runs that page now.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't sure exactly. Okay, so you took over because I know Courtney Pratt. Shout out to her. She started
Yeah.
it.
Huge shout out to her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well she trained at my school
Oh,
from
cool.
white belt to black belt. That's I
Oh,
used to run
super
Bushido
cool.
Kai, so she's
Yeah,
from my
Courtney's super cool.
academy.
She was like the first, she was actually the first black belt woman I ever got to roll with.
Yeah,
When I came out here and yeah, we connected at one of the first events and then she had been, kind of making it known that she was going to be stepping back from the sport and
yep.
I was new to the community. I was on a road trip like living like I spent not last winter but the winter before in an RV in the States, so I wasn't even like local as she was posting that stuff and then she ended up just posting like a farewell because nobody had offered to take it up over and
Sure.
so I was just like, "Oh, I didn't really think I like had enough stake in the game in the Atlantic provinces, but like I definitely want something as like beautiful and important as this to keep going." So then she passed it on to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, now I know when I post this my YouTube link with this interview, you'll be the one that approves it. Yeah, no, good for you. Yeah, I ran a full-time school from 1994 to 2020. And so
Yeah.
Courtney joined there, and she started off as a student and worked her way up through the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu program, and obviously became black belt. And I know
Yeah.
she stepped away from it, but she was just so amazing. And
Oh, she is so amazing. I still just like look up to her. Like we don't like I don't ask her questions every time I have them, but like I often when I'm dealing with like the WTF group, will just be like, what would Courtney do? You know,
yeah,
like
yeah. Yeah, no, no. I mean, she accomplished so much too. So it was great. So that's awesome. So that's what a great connection then. So my apologies, I didn't clue in right away that
oh, that's fine. I tried not to like make it like my big goal when I took over that group and I vocalize at every like event we have is that like we almost lost that group because Courtney wasn't going to do it anymore.
yeah.
And there's no reason why, building a community should fall on the shoulders of one person. And so I try not to make it like it's not like I just happen to be the coordinator who's behind the page, but I just try to really make it um like all the women who are part of that group are responsible for building it. Like I don't really even like the events that we hold, like I kind of step back from being the one who goes to and hosts every event and kind of put it more on
Well,
each individual school. And I feel like it's just going to help build up leaders in each school, like give women those kind of like experiences of hosting events, being the leader,
yeah,
um,
and I would think,
just spreading it out.
anyone that's following happens to watch this interview, who maybe they have a few ladies at their school, they could just hold it like a little event, even if they
Absolutely.
only have the same group. I mean, in our Brazilian
Absolutely.
Jiu-Jitsu program at Manimal Athletics, we have 11 ladies now training, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of the academies in HRM, they have, some have ladies, some only have a few. But anyway, it's just amazing you're doing that. So, I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's
if any women want to put an event on their school, I'm building like the 2025 schedule right now. So, anybody who wants to reach out and do it, I'm more than happy to work with and would love that opportunity.
okay. Anything you want to finish with?
No, just thanks again for having me. I'm
All right,
so
awesome.
grateful to be a part of the community here in Atlantic, Canada. I think it's just such a great community. As I've been competing internationally, everybody just supports me so much, and their support has helped get me a lot of these experiences. So I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to end the podcast. So this is Tales from the Mat. Sarah, you are amazing, and I wish you nothing but great success and keep, doing your thing. So I'm going to end this thing here. See you guys.